Don Levine, board member, safety committee.
Hand it off to somebody.
Okay, I'll hand it off to Jeff.
Jeff Gifford, board member. I'll hand it off to Joe.
There he is, over there.
Hey, Joe, I guess I'm former board member and playground committee person.
And Meg and Jay, introduce yourselves.
Yeah, hi. Jay Griffith, board member.
Meg Griffith, board member.
They come as a duo, you see.
And Zoe?
Yes, hi. I'm Zoe. I'm a board member.
Well, after the election, Zoe.
We have
Yes.
election.
Election.
We have to do the
Pre-election.
Pre-election.
Again, hopefully a board member.
And I'm Kelly Davis, the co-chair of land use and a board member.
And that's Linda.
I'm Linda Hoskin. I'm the new editor of the newsletter.
Yay!
And I just wanted to join this meeting just to introduce myself.
Oh, wonderful.
Hello.
Here comes Jennifer.
There's Jennifer.
Hi, all.
Hi, we're introducing ourselves. You get to introduce yourself.
I am Jennifer. I am the secretary of the board and on the communications and event committee.
Good.
Okay. Got everybody here. And I understand that we might have an election going on, a vote on a new board member. Is that what I hear, Zoe?
Yes.
Interested?
I would like to be on the board, yes.
Oh, excellent. So why don't we look at the agenda and possibly after the treasurer's report, insert board elections? Will that work?
That would work.
Okay. I've got food. Yay.
Nice.
All right. Excellent. So we'll add that after we get through the minutes. Are there any other edits or changes to the agenda at this point? You can see it in front of you right there. We've got the treasurer's report, CNN report, then new business, general meeting program for the January upcoming general membership meeting. Then talk about the playground project and next steps as Joe Saraceno is going to be resigning from the board. Then we have the overhead continuous descent survey that has not been done yet. And we're not quite sure where that's going. We had the presentation, gosh, 9 months ago now. Okay, so then we have our communications report, land use, events, safety, and then we get to adjourn. Are there any other changes or additions or deletions?
Can we take communications and flip it to the top because Linda would like to just be here for a short period of time?
Richard, I've got her under new business. I slipped.
New. Okay, that wasn't on what I printed out a half hour ago. All right.
Okay.
Well,
right.
that's good. Okay.
Good.
Okay. With these changes, do we have a recommendation to approve the agenda as amended?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, got it. All right, now we have the minutes for review and approval. That would be the November 3rd meeting. And I'm sure everybody has read through these, right?
So I just threw up the copy. I found a couple of things there that are highlighted. Otherwise, it met my my approval. It was just on the amount, the money we received from CNN, and then Snake Hill is actually on 61st Avenue.
Yes. Correct.
Cool.
So,
Sweet.
Any other exciting things on this that we need to address?
does anybody else want more time to review them before we vote?
I'm fine.
I'm good.
All right.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I move to approve the minutes with the corrections displayed on the screen.
Second,
Okay, move in second. All those in favor say aye.
aye.
All those- Okay, all those opposed, same sign.
Oops.
Okay. It's passed. Boom, moving right through. All right, so we have a treasurer's report. Richard?
Yes. As the past few months, very quiet, not much going on. We did pay the last newsletter printing bill, and we got a $100 rebate on it for the shortages and damaged pieces, because it figured out to be just about that. Actually, it was a little less than $100. And then we received our communications funds from CNN for $1,940, and our whopping 46 cents in interest. So we currently have $12,394.80 in the bank.
So Richard,
Yes, sir.
the CNN funds were shorted this year from what we expected.
Yeah, we were hoping to get 2250.
But we got a COVID.
We got some additional COVID money. Yes, it was unexpected.
That's just because.
That's just because.
Oh, okay, so we're good then.
Yeah, we're ended up with about 3,000 instead of 2250.
Nice.
Richard, could you tell us how much we typically expend in a year on our communications, let's say?
Okay, communications about 3,300. And most of that is printing for the newsletter, about 3,000. We do have a couple little bills for the website. Runs about $200 for the year. And then this year we purchased the Zoom vehicle that we're using now. We had budgeted for 3,320, and we've spent 734 almost. It's a big difference because we didn't print a lot of newsletters yet.
That's true. And that's because we've been doing a lot of digital.
Right.
So we'll talk about that with communications, which might be under new business.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else to add?
Well, if you look at our various categories, a lot of them have zero expenses. We have, of course, no cleanup expenses. We've had no state administrative expenses with state filings and supplies and signs and printings and all that sort of thing. Our community awards, we've done the 500 to the Oregon Food Bank. The Walker Awards are still under perusal. I contacted Barney Trophy, and they're trying to find our file. Last I heard that that's where they were, and that's been over about a week and a half. So I should call them back again or email them back again and say, hey, have you found that yet? So and nothing on the concerts either. So we're doing really well. Our income's 3,500 and our expenses are 1,200. So almost 2,400 in the black for the year.
So the communication funds we received really are about $1,600 short of providing for the full year's worth of costs.
Yeah, and it never did cover the full year.
Okay. Okay.
At least in my sojourn, which has been a few years.
Yeah, it has been a few years. Okay, so how about a CNN report? Are you done, Richard?
I am.
Okay, thank you. Jay, do you have an update for us?
Well, I attended the last one, right, Jay? No? Hello? Am I unmuted or are you unmuted?
Couldn't quite unmute there. Having a little difficulty. Yes, Joe, you attended the last one. If you can get
Yes,
the
all
report.
right. So I'll just review my notes here. It was a pretty casual meeting. We kind of led off with a roundtable discussion about the Udaly and Mingus mayoral election. So people were pretty excited about Mingus winning. And so it was just kind of banter about that.
Let me interject for those who may not know what this is. CNN is Central Northeast Neighbors Coalition, which is the umbrella organization by which our neighborhood exists as a 501c3. And so we are just one of their 8 different neighborhoods within our district. And so we have representatives that sit on their board, and Jay is the primary with Joe is the alternate from our board here. Okay,
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. And since I'm stepping away, maybe speak to Zoe a little bit here, but anyone who's interested in filling my backup slot, it is a kind of a great opportunity to get a broader sense of what the other neighborhood coalition, I shouldn't say coalition, neighborhood associations are doing. So if you have any interest in kind of deep diving and getting beyond or getting to know people that are in the other associations, it's a great opportunity to do that. So there was a bit of small talk, and then Ron Lester, and forgive me, I don't remember which neighborhood he's with, but he's a very active neighborhood association person. Kind of gave a talk about his desire to get the NAs more involved in city government the way they used to be in the 70s. I don't have much reference for that, but what he was speaking about, he said that back then, neighborhood associations actually had some influence on City Hall to direct public policy, I guess, and get things done. We were, I guess, much more influential back then. He's really disappointed. We basically have zero influence at City Hall now. So what Allison is going to do, I think, is try to connect with or write a letter and connect with Mingus Maps and see if we can have a discussion around how NAs can become more actively involved as a citizenry to get our voices heard at City Hall, and not only heard, but actually play a more active role in policy. So there was a motion that Allison and Doug are going to write a letter requesting Wheeler make Mingus Maps head of community involvement to replace Udaly, because I think those leaders are undecided as far as I know now that Udaly's moved on and others. So
we actually have one of the commissioners with us tonight.
I was going to say, I just saw, I think Amanda Fritz is on
Amanda Fritz is here.
Wow. So I should let her speak.
Well, thank you for letting me just drop in. This is my last month on the council, so I wanted to visit as many neighborhood associations as I can to just basically say thank you for all of your work. I would actually disagree. I believe that neighborhood associations are still influential. Tamara and Rose City Park in particular have been enormously helpful in a number of issues. And certainly I've always felt very supported and assisted by you in getting the information that I needed to be able to advocate. I actually had a great conversation with Commissioner-elect Maps. I know he's going to be another stalwart who's going to be very supportive of you and wanting to figure out how to build you up again. Commissioner-elect Rubio, who's going to succeed me, is also committed to the neighborhood associations. Commissioner Ryan, who's only been on the council for a month. What an amazing person he is. He is so kind and thoughtful. He also understands nonprofits, having worked with them for a long time with the school board and neighbors and the school system. So I think that you're going to have a council next year that's going to be very much committed to neighborhood associations, to community engagement, to looking at how can we improve the system rather than how can we tear it apart and knock it down. And so I'm just really encouraged. It's one of the few reasons I wish I was still on the council. I'm going to be still on the council, but it's going to be kind of fun to watch building it up again, having, with you, seen it really not supported over the past 4 years, which has been very disappointing.
That's probably what Ron was speaking to, I'm guessing, is sort of that feeling of that we didn't have a voice anymore based on old commissioner objectives and policies.
Yeah, I believe you will have a council that will have renewed commitment, and certainly the neighborhood associations, I would say, flexed your muscles in the last election and made a difference. And that will not have gone unnoticed by those on the council next year.
News.
Yeah, thank you. And just the final point from the CNN meeting was about Dignity Village. Apparently, Dignity Village is, as far as I think it's off of Columbia, it's an RV park, kind of on your way to Gartner's, if my memory serves, somewhere in that area. Is that okay? Apparently there's a large homeless camp that is built up around Dignity Village with it's burnt out cars. It's pretty extreme. It's not just tents. It's pretty bad. And the residents there are concerned that encampment with the burnt out cars, and I guess there's a lot of activity there, they're being seen as part of that. So they have a very big concern that their little village, their RV park, is being seen as part of this homeless encampment. So they have some fear that they're being lumped in with those folks. I guess there's a new developers for the RV park that want to meet with them and give them a voice. So Lisa Larson's going to reach out, and then Rhonda, I guess, has some resources that she can try to pull to get city folks down there to see if they can't help clean some things up. And that was it.
Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much, Joe. And since we do have a guest here that we didn't know when we were looking at the agenda, and this is new business, maybe we could add Amanda in for new business here. Would that be okay for folks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Tamara. I apologize for not letting you know ahead of time. I actually just dialed up the CNN website and looked, and I could go and see my friends talk. So I just dropped in. So thank you for making room for me. And if you have any questions or whatever, I'd be happy to take them.
How can we get Portland Transportation Bureau to listen to us?
You have to get the commissioner in charge to listen to you. So I think that building relationships with the 3 new commissioners, I'm including Commissioner Ryan in that. Mayor Wheeler will announce his bureau assignments either before the end of the year or first thing at the beginning of the year. And so I think, that the commissioner sets the tone. And, I've always let it be known to my bureaus that they better respond to community members. So just, and inviting the new commissioners to visit with you. I mean, give them a little bit of a chance to get settled, but, you want to be establishing relationships with them the same way that you introduced yourself to me and maybe understand about what goes on in your neighborhood.
Good. Well, we're faced with the Rose Lane project on Sandy Boulevard, which will be huge. If they try to, reduce the travel lanes to 2 and just have 2 bus lanes going either direction, let's say travel on those every 15 minutes, but we already have a half a mile of stacking in the evening peak hour of commutes. It would just be crazy if we lose a lane. So anyway,
The nice thing about the Rose Lane is it's paint to start off with. So if it doesn't work, if it causes major backups, they can always put it back. The other thing is they did change. Capitol Highway isn't anything near as busy as Sandy, but that's in my neighborhood, and they did the same. It's not a Rose Lane, but they switched it from 2 lanes both sides to a center turn lane and 1 on both sides. And I thought they were really going to stack it up because before it had, and it actually has made it in some ways flow better and slower. So I kind of ate my words on that because I was like, oh, this isn't going to work. And it turned out it did. So, it's the kind of like with the residential infill project, you just hope it turns out better than you thought it was going to.
Yes. We still hope about that. Are there any questions for Amanda while we've got her?
No questions, but I'd like to thank her for her years of service and support for the neighborhood associations and the citizens and residents of the city.
Absolutely.
Thank you. You're very welcome. And again, thank you for all of your support. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, you do a lot of great work in the neighborhood network, and thank you for all you do. And I hope everybody has a really happy holidays. Thank you for letting me bomb.
Amanda, I actually do have a quick question for you.
Okay.
In terms of, and maybe Tamara already knows the answer to this, but in terms of connecting to commissioners, maybe especially a new commissioner, are there modes of communication or tactics that you recommend that are more effective than others? And I might piggyback on that by saying, is it wise to get there early now before they have so much on their plate, they're just swamped, and try to get a voice in earlier than later?
I would invite them to your meeting and say you recognize they might be swamped, and so unless there's something particularly urgent that, whenever they can fit you into their schedule for, 20 minutes in the evening, I believe that they will all be really interested in getting to know the neighborhoods better and getting to know you better. So, certainly making that invitation and then being really nice to them when they get here. I was actually just at a different neighborhood association and they were thinking of all kinds of questions to ask. I was like, you know what, you might want to just be really kind and friendly and, just basically start to establish a relationship before you dive in with what are you going to do about Sandy Boulevard's bus lanes?
Yeah, that's good advice.
Or even just that you may not be aware that there's this issue and, we just want to make you aware of it so that, when it comes up, just that kind of approach.
Mm-hmm.
That they are really nice people, all of them. And so I think that you're always a bit overwhelmed. It's never quite what you think it's going to be when you get into the job or when you get into a particular assignment. And so trying to think of how can you be helpful will be appreciated.
I have a question, Commissioner. I think it was at our 2018 candidate fair, one of the candidates for the commissioner position who wasn't elected, but in speaking to the group said that when they asked how to get the attention out at City Hall, and this person said the magic number is 10. She said that you have to make 10 inquiries or have 10 people at least contact the city, and that will garner attention. I'm wondering if that sounds true to you, or does that seem to have any credibility?
That's a lot. I would say that 3 generally gets attention. Sometimes one person can get attention. If you make a really compelling case, And in particular, always remember that other than me, it's going to be a relatively junior staff person who's going to be answering the commissioner's emails. So first of all, be really nice, because they get a lot, they get stuff hurled at them that's actually supposed to be hurled at us. And, which is one of the reasons that I've answered all my own emails, because I don't think anybody should take my abuse. Also, because I find it really helpful and interesting. So getting to know the staff, never, the commissioner is going to be scheduled every half hour from morning till night. And so if there's a way to connect with a staff member that you can get to know, and be again, respectful and kind to them, so that you can get them to then bring it up to their commissioner. I have heard this concern from Rose City Park, and it seems a valid one. Is there something we can do to help them? That's often the best way. Certainly don't do the petition, don't do the, everybody send the same email. That's really annoying, and doesn't really get any better attention. Sending in an email that says why you care about something, preferably in not more than a couple of paragraphs, and sometimes a couple of sentences will do, because again, you're getting hundreds of emails a day, and so having to look through them to sift through what's a new idea, that can be really helpful. But the petitions, the change.org things are really, really annoying, so try to avoid those.
Thank you for that wisdom.
Thank you. Trying to make it easier for my counterparts as moving forwards. Portland is a place where we're all about relationships. And so the more you can be real people that are seeking to understand the other person's point of view and seeking to help them succeed as well as yourselves, that's going to go best. We seldom do stuff because people are yelling at us. There's a lot of people who aren't yelling at us, so why would we respond to the people who are being mean and nasty? Well, if that's it, I'll lead you to get on with your meeting. I wish everybody a very happy holidays, and again, thank you so much for all of that you contribute to Portland. It's been a privilege and a joy to serve you.
Oh,
Bye.
thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Much for being here.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Well, that was a blessing.
That was cool.
That
Yeah.
was very cool. Nice. Okay, following that new business, we have Linda.
Well, I don't know how to follow that, but
I hear you're a rock star in your own right, so.
oh, well, no. I have taken over the newsletter production for Lynn Della, and I just want to let you know where I stand in that task. I have had a good first healthy meeting with Lynn in which she explained quite a bit of valuable information to me. And then I've had a follow-up call with her. I've also talked to the printer and established a relationship there. And he's going to be very helpful as I produce the first newsletter for, print ready. I've spent some time going through the archives of past newsletters to see the different formats and to try to understand the flexibility that I have in putting the articles together that some of you write, as well as the advertisements from Jennifer's side of the house. Ed has been a tremendous help in getting the Microsoft suite of software, of which Publisher is one of the packages that was previously used to produce the newsletter. And in fact, on the agenda, Ed's going to tell you more about that. So with all of this has come together, I want you to feel confident that I'll be able to produce the newsletter on schedule, and the schedule that Ed has put together in a easier to read format for all of us to use, has the articles coming due. I believe it's on the 11th. I don't have it in front of me, but it's coming up. And a lot of the articles have been written, and there's just a few that are yet to dribble in, as well as any changes to the advertisers. Ed has also created a nice user-friendly directory of where authors can, place their articles that we can all get to. So I think that's about it. Does anyone have any questions of me? I'll certainly be communicating any questions I have of the board through Ed as time goes on, but I think it's going to be a cakewalk.
Well, you are just wonderful. Can you tell us a little bit about your time here in Rose City Park and what you like to do? And
oh, sure. I actually moved to Portland 5 years ago from Florida to be closer to my son and granddaughter, and I'm retired. I live on a wonderful street on 56th Avenue. Actually, Ed is a neighbor. And lots of supportive people I've found in Rose City Park, whether it's through the next door social media or Buy Nothing, or you name it. There's an active community of people who are helpful. I think I could stop at any neighbor's house on a walk and I'd get a friendly wave. And I think if I was running from somebody, a neighbor would come out and help tackle the guy. So I love this neighborhood more so than a couple of other places that I've lived when I first moved here. So I've been in this house on this street for about 3 years now, and I see staying here quite a while.
that's wonderful.
She shared with us last night that after she moved here, her son moved to Eugene.
Yes. I told him I can't follow you everywhere. So at least it's 100 miles away. That's not too bad.
I think Linda unknowingly moved on to the street of Rose City Park newsletter editors. We have 4 of the last 5 editors living within a block and a half here, all on 56. It's kind of crazy coincidentally.
Well,
Better you have a strong arm.
No, no.
I think it's the B part. Yeah.
Yeah. So send the article submissions to editor@rcpna.org. And then that's forwarded to the officers and Linda, and we'll get them into the folder where she can access them, or she'll get them. So.
And
owe you
Ed, I don't have until the 11th for an article, do I?
I was going to suggest, since this is the first time through, Kelly, that today was a suggested
Well, yesterday was a
submittal date.
deadline.
So ASAP would be great.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, because Linda's, she's very experienced with publisher, and but still her chops are a little rusty. She won't. She says she's got it under control, and I believe her. But sooner better than is appreciated.
Yeah, I actually misspoke when I said the December 11th. In my mind, that's the date that I'm supposed to give it back for review, the completed newsletter for review to the board. And then you have a couple of days, to review that. I make the changes, then get it to the printer. So that's not the date for the first submittal. So yes, ASAP, as Ed says.
Yeah,
So-
my deadline was today, and I haven't gotten it done yet. So I'll get it to you tomorrow morning.
Okay.
All right.
Kelly, by midnight tonight would be good.
You're so cute, Ed.
I know.
Zoe, I owe you an apology. I got so fascinated with seeing Amanda Fritz on the screen, I skipped over my note here.
So-
Oh, it's okay.
Can
So
we add you
Tamara-
on as new business here?
So
Yes,
Tamara,
since I'm new.
I think I'm the sponsor of Zoe. She and I interacted on some land use issues. So let me read you a quick bio of
Yes.
Zoe. Zoe Ezekiels is a graduate of Florida State University with 2 degrees, one in communications media and one in theater. She lives in our neighborhood, loves to check out books at the Hollywood Library, hang out at Grant Park reading and eating vegan picnics that she cooks herself. She loves making art, baking, taking care of her plants, and learning. She works as a copywriter and broadcast camera operator and does volunteer work for a few organizations when not working, including the Blanchett House, Feeding the Homeless Community, and House of Dreams, a cat shelter off Gleason. That's the little bio. Zoe, do you have more to add to that?
Yes. I think that sums up me. My jackfruit plants are doing very well. They require a lot of water and the sun is not shining, so the leaves are growing or like reaching towards the window, but they're doing well. Yeah, I just really think in terms of making a difference, it starts in the neighborhood. And when I saw your newsletter in August, I picked it up and I was on my way to drop off a book at the library and I read it while I was walking and I was like, I want to be a part of this. And now I'm here.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How long have you been in the neighborhood? Have you?
I moved here in August, but I was a little farther south before. I've been in Portland since January. I had visited previously. I visited last year during spring break, did skiing on Mount Hood and hung out around town. My friend's family lives here. Then I graduated and I was like, I want to go to Portland. And so bounced around a little bit and then ended up here. And I just really love this neighborhood and I love my roommates. And I don't know, I just think it's great.
It's great to have you. All right.
Thank you.
Any more questions of Zoe?
Just a comment, we also moved into Rose City Park when we were much younger people. So
Nice.
we moved in when we were 25. So
I am 23, so
yeah,
similar ages.
But you didn't tell them, Meg, that you moved out and then you moved back in.
yeah.
Ooh.
That's right.
We live in a different house now because we moved to Chicago for a little while. When we moved
Ooh,
back,
nice.
we were like, oh, we're gonna head back to the neighborhood, buy another house there. So
That's awesome.
All
See a
right.
puppy.
yeah, you'll find that Portlanders kind of stay in their neighborhoods. You find out like, oh, they might have moved around a little bit, but they're sort of like Northeast people and Southeast people, and
They just keep
definitely
going
East
back
Side
to-
people versus West Side people a little bit.
Right. My partner is a Portland native, and I'm definitely like he's always been in the Northeast, and it.
Well, since you're interested in being on the board, what we ask for you to do is, as a board member, you're to come to our board meetings and participate in doing the general membership meetings. And then you get to choose, or we get to point you to a committee that so you can be on
She's
land
already
use over there with
expressed a
Kelly.
preference.
Yes, I'm very
Or
interested in
communications
the
or
land use
events, but yes. So
transportation.
if you're up for that, we would I would like to entertain a motion to see if we would like to have Zoe added to our board.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Okay, that was it. You are now a
Welcome
board
aboard.
member. Welcome
Yay,
aboard.
thank you.
Zoe, did I spell your last name right here?
Yes, that's perfect. Thank you, Ed.
Okay, Jennifer, you got that? See, look at the cursor.
Thank you.
Okay.
Skills. Nice name.
Thank you.
I'm gonna slip
mom's.
away now. Y'all have a good meeting.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thank you,
Bye, Linda.
Linda.
Bye,
Take
Linda.
care.
Bye, Linda.
Bye-bye.
Nice to meet you.
Thank
Nice to
you.
meet you.
So now we have the January 21st, 2021 general membership meeting planning. The notes we have are from the meeting minutes last time. May consider inviting recently elected officials for future discussions. There were also questions that, Zoe, I think you had submitted prior to our meeting that we didn't get to add as questions.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
the
So
floor is
what are they?
open.
What were the
Okay.
questions that Zoe had?
Yes.
They're coming up. They're coming up on the screen. Stand by.
All right, thanks, Ed.
Thank
Okay,
you.
there you go. Oh, some of these were for candidates.
Yes.
I think the third and fourth ones, Zoe, are those appropriate for the board?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, the top ones are for candidates. Okay.
Well, I liked what Amanda said about, getting, building some relationships with our new folks. And we won't know probably until the early part of January, who's going to be in charge of which portfolio. But if we get one or two of the newly electeds to come to the general meeting, I think that would be super fantastic.
Me too.
I think Amanda had a really key point around approaching people in a way of like, what can we do to help you versus, complaining and then saying, what are you going to do to change this, or what are you going to do to fix that? And that's kind of relationship building 101, but I think it's a really good reminder when you're meeting new people of like offering your, like, how can we help you? We really want to work with you.
Yeah, turn it around and don't make it a blaming thing, make it a collaborative situation and say, we want to work with you to make our neighborhood and our city work better than it has in the past and make it better for the folks to come after us. So yeah, I think that's a great idea.
We want to extend invitations to Ryan and Rubio and maybe Maps as a backup. We've had Maps before, but if have him as try and get the other two new ones.
I like that, Ed.
Good idea.
Is that a yes for most people? Okay. Ryan and Rubio first, and then Maps as a backup.
Yeah. And
So if we could get maybe 2 speakers for one meeting.
probably 2 and give them 20 minutes, a half an hour each, give them
Okay.
an amount of time to make it worthwhile, and ask them some questions. And
Okay.
and as always, we should probably have a fallback plan if we can't get any of them.
I mean, I think one thing to consider too is if Wheeler makes Maps the civic head of NAs and all that entails. And you're right, we have spoken to Maps before, but never as an elected official. So I think, once those assignments are given, I think it'd be really cool to have him back and say thank you, because you've been, we've been with you from the beginning. There was at Tamara's house. What a great way to kind of rekindle that, especially if he is made head of civic life. It'd be good to touch base with him sooner than later.
Yeah, we could send him some coffee over Zoom.
Some coffee over Zoom.
Just send a little care package to his house.
That's actually a great idea. I mean, even just a congratulations note from us would probably be.
Build bridges.
Yeah.
If we all drank the same kind of coffee. It'd be like we were in the same room. We actually try to do things like that at school to build community. It's like, okay, everybody use the same thing, or, you know, it seems childish, but helps the kids feel like they're in the same. Or we actually put them at a table that's like in a picture that they're looking at, or they like pick a seat so they know when they're going to talk, because otherwise nobody ever talks.
We ever order those Rose City? We were going to get Rose City Neighborhood Association mugs. Those would be cool to send out to people.
We're getting bags, but those are for our newsletter deliverers.
Oh yes, the tote bags.
Yes.
So Tamara, I'll commit to crafting an invitation to those three and emailing it out like we do for the candidates fair tomorrow, and ask them to reply maybe by the beginning of next week. They're probably getting their calendars organized now. The sooner we find out if they're going to be able to attend, the better.
Yeah, the sooner the better. And also, since we are thinking about another paper newsletter, it would be good to have something in the newsletter.
Yeah.
Before that deadline,
Right.
which is already passed.
Right.
Yeah. One thing I will do on behalf of the neighborhood is send out a Rose City Park thank you card. It's just a blank card that we get from Paper Jam produces those. And I will introduce our neighborhood association and say congratulations on behalf of our neighborhood as an introduction, and go from there.
Send that to all three of them, yes?
Yes, all three of them.
So you're going to send those on snail mail and a postcard. Do you want me to email an invite like we do for the candidates fairs?
Yeah, get that out.
All right. And ask for a reply by Monday the 7th.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good.
So what if we don't get any of them? Or one of them? We need to think about something else.
What do you think, Don?
Well, I was thinking, and I was thinking about Zoe's question number 3 on her list of questions, and what does the neighborhood association do to provide more engagement with marginalized neighbors and BIPOC populations? And I was thinking, as I read that it might be interesting to invite one of the organizers in some of the recent marches to come and do a presentation on where they're coming from and what they would like to see from the neighborhood association to begin engagement.
I think that's a great idea, but do we have contact information? Do we know who these people are, and are they going to be approachable?
Well, I don't know. And I guess my question is for the newest member of the board. Zoe, have you been participating in any of the marches, or do you have any way to, where you know any of the people responsible for doing some of the organization and coordination?
I know, so I don't know any of them personally, but I have seen individuals speak, and I could get someone, like I could go on there, I could contact them via Twitter or via Instagram. Usually they're on social media. I would also consider reaching out to Teresa Rayford and she does Don't Shoot PDX. I don't know if she would be available to talk. I know that she did support maps, like she put her ballot and she put maps on the ballot, and she's kind of like, I think she'd be a good person for us to talk to. I also know that Regina Rage is another Black member of the community who has been active in these marches and things. But yeah, I can go on Twitter, I can go on Instagram and contact these people and see what I get back in terms of asking them if they'd like to come to the next meeting and give us a presentation or discuss with us, like a Q&A forum maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that would be great. One of the things we've talked about here before, and one thing that I've seen is the different groups are so stratified that cross communication and just kind of more of a establishing a link to get an understanding of where people are coming from is lacking. And I think, if our neighborhood association wants to be proactive, I think that would be great to give a dedicated time slot for presentation and maybe some Q&A, just to kind of like get the kind of communication going, so the people that attend can become more aware of the concerns and maybe some suggestions on how we can interact a little bit more to be more proactive in supporting the people in our neighborhood and marginalized people in general.
Yeah, I think it's like Meg was saying earlier, building bridges. And Amanda also talked about that, like making relationships so that we know their needs and how we can help them and how like we all work together as a community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it may be that it may be better as a panel discussion. I don't know. Because you do have a couple different factions. You have some of the demonstrators that are tagging things. And then you have some of the folks saying, no, we're not into the destructive stuff. They're not representing Black Lives Matter. And so I'm not quite sure if any one person will have the answer. So I'm thinking maybe, we would end up with maybe 3 people from different groups that could help us better understand what's going on.
We could do that, for the introductory meeting. I'm wondering how many viewpoints do we want to present and how into the weeds do we want to get? For the general, the membership of whoever attends the general meeting as well as us, I think there's a lot of nuance in the different groups that have invested in that effort. And I don't know if a panel discussion would be best in this first meeting, or whether an introduction and just a presentation and a little bit of interaction for the first meeting, and then maybe make this a continuation in our next general meeting to have it a little bit more deeper once we're kind of got some communication established.
Yeah, I like that, Don. I if we get any of the city council, the new council members, plus this, if we extend the offer and it's accepted, we ought to be having them participate. So we only have 2 hours, and it always gets really tight for time. So I agree with you. Maybe a presentation, a couple of presentations, and then build on that for the March meeting.
Well, actually, Ed, weren't we talking about a backup plan to the elected officials? That's what I thought we were talking about.
Could be, yeah. Because, well, if everybody's going to reach out to these people, it'd be nice if there was a certain amount of certainty, rather than, hey, we're thinking of this. Are you interested? Would you commit? I'm just thinking if Zoe's going to reach out to these people, it'd be beneficial to have some stability to the reach out.
I think that Teresa Rayford is a well-known name too, so I think that would be a good person.
She was the write-in for mayor, right?
Yes, yeah. Okay. And she's also the founder of Don't Shoot PDX, which is a BLM group.
Okay. Another thing to consider also is just to maybe reach out to our BIPOC-owned business owners that are in the neighborhood to see if they would like to come and speak or give information about their business and how they've been affected by both the Black Lives Matter and all the issues around racial justice that are coming up, and how that, and COVID on top of that, and just speak to their experience, just because, that idea of just getting out and listening to people first without jumping in and saying, oh, what are the solutions and what are we doing, right? It's like, just say, oh, these are the people in our neighborhood and what are they asking for as our help? So, there's several in the neighborhood, and I don't know how easy it is to find a list, but maybe it's just a matter of reaching out on some of our social media to say, hey, we're looking for your stories, or we're looking for, and then if we don't have time to have them actually speak, it could still be presented on our website or in another way. I do know that the Willamette Week Gives book this year, that I just heard on the news today that they're indicating which nonprofit organizations are at least half BIPOC run. And so that's also something that we could, something like that for our own neighborhood, where we have some of these local restaurants and things like that and other businesses.
Hey, Meg, what do you think about I can see this general meeting getting really, really involved. If we're going to have a couple of new council members speak and a representative from the BIPOC community speak, and then individual BIPOC business owners speak, it can get really muddy. What do you think about giving them some space and I put this up to everybody, to give them some space in the newsletter so they can talk about tales from the neighborhood, just little blurbs on, this is how we're doing, this is some of the things we're seeing, this would be helpful, and providing it space for a couple of paragraphs from each person on our on the website and in the newsletter.
I think that's a great idea. Could feature businesses too on the website. We could feature BIPOC businesses and kind of show what's in our neighborhood.
Yeah, that's a good idea, but we need to identify and then get those written pieces developed in a very short amount of time, because Linda's got to get the newsletter put together.
Well, I'm not thinking of this issue. I'm thinking of the next issue.
Okay, clarifying. Okay.
We could maybe have a small piece in this newsletter. I don't know how we would do it, but kind of extending that offer. Say are you in our community? Do you have a business? Do you want to share about it? Just kind of extending that invitation so people know about it.
Well, why don't we expand that to just the newsletter goes to every residence in the neighborhood. What if we open it up to all the residents and provide that opportunity? They don't have to be a business. They could be a BIPOC person who resides here.
Yeah, who just wants to share about their experience in the neighborhood.
Well, I did find out that one of the couples, gay couple on 49th, they got their white garage door spray painted as part of the riot that went through, and then went off tagging in downtown, down in Hollywood and along Sandy Boulevard. And they were, I don't think they had any idea that a couple of gay guys lived there. And what they were talking about is support, recognize the trans woman that got killed on Rocky Butte. It's like, well, yeah, but it's just a total surprise. But they weren't the only one. They had several other houses tagged on the street as well. But anyway, I just thought that was odd and wanted to put that out there because they were impacted.
So where are we at? We're going to invite the 3 new city commissioners and hope we get some positive replies. Are we gonna invite Teresa Rayford?
Well, that would be the backup plan.
That's the backup plan. Okay. All right.
That's what I thought we were asking about. But the question is now, should that be a backup plan or should that be part of this? Because I think both of them have valid things to say. So what do you think, Jay and Jeff? Haven't heard from you.
I think the meetings are better with fewer things packed into them. And, if we can get commissioners to come, this would be the first meeting after they've been elected, and that's a good option. I like the idea of providing space in the newsletter, and perhaps that could be a topic for a future meeting if we can get the commissioners to come this time.
How about you, Jeff?
I think that we should invite the commissioners, and if we don't get a response, then I think we should have Zoe pursue some other speakers and go from there. And I endorse putting a request in the newsletter for additional community support. I think that's a great thing to do.
Okay, Jennifer, yes.
So I think that every newsletter that comes out, we ask people like, please share your story. And people do not come to us with like articles or like wanting to share a story. It really takes some effort to seek out those folks, those businesses. And that's not a bad thing. I think, I think that we might be overestimating people's like willingness during the holidays and during, everything to just like, oh, I'm also just going to bust out a 250 word, article for a newsletter that, I think that I think we may be better served if we think about like really build this up for the March meeting. I think it would be great. I love this. Like, I really think that we do need to increase our BIPOC representation. I think it's really important for us to hear more from that community. We have a lot of those businesses, we have a lot of businesses that are owned by folks from various backgrounds, and they do deserve our attention and our support. But I don't think that we should give them a half-hearted, rushed, like kind of push it in. I think that's a little bit too stereotypical for how they've been treated as like, hey, come teach me how to be a better white person. Like, let's not do that. So let's, like, I think as a backup plan, I think it would make sense to maybe invite like a singular person to come maybe do a presentation. But if you want to like really do a nice, big kind of meeting centered around increasing engagement, hearing people's stories, I think we'd be better served by pushing that out until March and like really building that in the new year. So that's me. But do as you want. And everybody's welcome to write stuff in the newsletter. Like, please write us stuff.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think pushing it to March maybe gives us more of a chance to like fully flesh it out and give these communities the space that they really deserve. And I think it's like a lifelong thing that we have to do, like keep building bridges with these communities and keep extending hands to them and listening to them. And yeah.
But I do think that we should probably do that ask in the upcoming newsletter and say, we're going to be investigating this in the upcoming year in 2021. And we'd like to hear from folks out there who can address this situation.
I think that's right. I think that we can make that ask, and that's like a short blurb that somebody on communications can probably write. I think just knowing how much effort it takes to put in like a real article, I think that we want to see that, just bigger in the future article, like in the. I mean, we have a March meeting, so all that stuff gets to be done in like February. We don't have very long to wait.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's quick.
Well, I think it's important to, instead of packing everything into one meeting, to start to build something. And I agree that putting just a blurb saying we're looking for your stories or your feelings, or we want to hear your voice in this coming newsletter is a good idea. And I wouldn't say that that would be the only contact. I mean, I think it would be worthwhile to do some personal contact, to go into some of these businesses and say, just to let you know, this is in the newsletter. But if you want to do a couple of paragraphs about your feelings or your story here, we'd like to include it in the next newsletter. But I also think that it's really topical right now. There's a new city council. There's a summer and fall of protests. There's an election that's just gone. There's fires that are just done. There's 2020 has been a pretty horrific year, and I think it would be worth considering to have a couple of speakers. I'm not sure what you're considering as far as a timeline for the new commissioners coming in. Are new. They're not going to have a big agenda or a big record to talk about, but I kind of think this maybe 20-minute format plus 10 minutes of questions, just to get used to, these are the people representing the neighborhood association. We want to see your face and get you to see our face. And then also the same 20-minute presentation and maybe 10 minutes question and answers with the representative, the BIPOC representative, whether it's Teresa Array or whoever, just to get some familiarity going, just to say, we're not going to solve the problems now or get deep into the issues, but we want to know who you are and we want you to know who we are, and give a space to interact, and then maybe build on that at the March meeting once kind of the ground has been broken. That's what I think.
Like a kickoff.
Yeah, or just kind of a familiarization tour.
So Donna,
Yeah.
each of the commissioners, you're saying 20 minutes each plus 10-minute Q&A for each.
I'm thinking, well, I'm trying to figure out in my head how we generally do this in our presentations.
Well,
in the 2-hour meeting.
Yeah, if we happen to get the 3 commissioners and we get Teresa Rayford, that's 2 hours in that
Yes.
Arrangement.
Well, I think the original suggestion was to have Mingus come to the March meeting.
Well,
Once he's got his committees down, and and if he's in charge of community, he might have his feet on the ground a little bit more in March.
Yeah.
And we can spend a little bit more time with him.
Well, that's why I think we need to settle on what we're doing here. There's been a lot of ideas thrown around.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Okay, we do have a lot of ideas floating around, and I think what I've also heard is we do better if we don't stuff things into our general membership meetings. So I'm thinking probably having 2 speakers, and then maybe something something that makes people happy, because we're still going to be on Zoom. But why don't we go around the group and say, okay, we're going to have first, let's vote, just a simple hand show of having 2 speakers, and then I'll go to 3 speakers, and then we'll decide what those 3 speakers are. Okay, and then this is just for the January meeting. So how about show of hand, do we want 2 speakers? Raise your hand if you say 2 speakers. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the majority. Okay, and 3 speakers.
Well, I think the issue here is we're going to extend an invitation to 3 people. We could get 0, 1, 2, or 3. So it's, what we want to do is going to be decided by their calendars and whether they want to participate. So maybe we ought to do send an email out next Monday after we've got a reply, and we'll see any or all of them are coming, or some portion of them, and then decide how we're going to set the program.
Could we just, could we word the invitation that we want one of the new commissioners to come to the meeting and then let them decide who it works with? No?
Then we won't get any of them.
Okay.
Okay, that's the way that works. And we could still think about having a speaker such as Rayford as the backup plan if you get no response by next Monday.
Let's go.
How about that?
Okay,
Sounds sensible to me.
I'm good with that.
Okay, so we'll try for 2. We might get 3. We'll just depend on what the response is that Ed gets. And then you'll be in contact with Zoe on whether or not to do the backup plan. Is that right?
Yeah, and then
I think that if we end up getting 2 of the commissioners for the January meeting, I think we should still try to reach out to somebody potentially for the March meeting, like Teresa Rayford, just because I think that having a speaker is crucial to bridging those gaps.
yeah,
I totally agree with you.
I agree. And if we get 2 speakers, we're going to have a pretty full program. Our 2-hour meetings, as has been expressed by a number of people, get pretty hectic if we're going to give them a half an hour each. But you do introductions, Tamara, and we have committee reports, and I think it'd be more comfortable to do something like that. And if we get 3, then we'll make it work.
Okay, so what I hear in general, let's see if we can get a motion on this, that we're going to shoot for 2 speakers. We might get 3, but the backup plan is to, if we don't hear anything back by next Monday after the email goes out, Ed's going to contact Zoe. Zoe's going to reach out to get us a speaker. And I'm not sure if just 1 speaker will be enough for us, but we'll make it work. We'll make something work. Okay. So is that a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Okay, got it. Okay, now we got an agenda for the most part. Great, thank you so much. That was a big discussion. An important one. Thank you, Zoe and Don, for bringing these relationships into our, into our meetings, because we need this.
Yeah, thank
It's gonna be
you.
important. Now we're running behind, but we have Joe and Ben has joined us. So at this point we have Joe had gotten on the board. This was about 2 years ago now, and with the interest of starting up this playground project. And it's now got a little bit over $13,000. And one of the reasons that he got on the board, or the reason, is that we needed someone from the playground group to be a part of our board so we can track this as a project. And now Joe is stepping down. And so the question becomes, what do we do about the project? So, Ed, do you want to say a few words?
Yeah, just a second. I'm fumbling for documents here.
And welcome, Ben. Good to see you again.
Hi, everyone. It's great to see you. I
Sorry
can
you
see
moved out of the
everyone.
neighborhood.
What?
Sorry you moved away.
I know. I'm sorry I moved away. I'm close.
You are.
So,
Very, very close.
yeah. So, yeah, when Joe and Ben came to us, and it was an extremely worthwhile project, and reached out to us for sponsorship because they needed to have a 501c3 affiliation in order to be able to raise funds for this. And the board considered it at that time and agreed. And one of the expectations, I think, as Tamara alluded to, was that we needed to have a board member. We were creating a committee. It was an official committee of the neighborhood association. And in our bylaws, in Article 8, it says that the committee should have one board member as a member of the committee. So Joe, as Ben was not a resident, I left it to Joe, and Joe agreed to be a board member. So, and now they've done, of course, you got COVID, got about a year's worth of fundraising, and they're a little over 13,000 to take the expenses away. And Joe is intending to resign from the board. We had some conversations with Allison Stoll, who is the executive director of Central Northeast Neighbors, which is collecting the money and banking it. And we're all operating under their 501c3. And Allison has expressed that, well, let me back up. Joe shared that if RCPNA was no longer involved, that the CNN would pick up the sponsorship, and the playground project would operate directly with CNN. And Allison says that's not true, that the conditions for it to change status would need to be the playground project. I don't know if you have a board established, Joe, Ben, but would have to consent along with the neighborhood association board to shift the activities and fundraising of the project to CNN, and then the CNN board would have to vote to accept it. So that's kind of where we're at. I was trying, Tamara and I had submitted some questions to Joe, and I assume.
And that's how Ed, I hope I get a chance to speak at some point, but that's what I understood too. When I talked to Rhonda, she said, hey, we'll take it on, we'll have a vote, we'll sign a contract, and then CNN will do it. So it wasn't.
Yeah. No,
it wasn't that it wasn't true. It is a possibility that can happen.
Yeah, well, I'll put up on the screen here Allison's email.
Unless Rhonda completely misinformed me.
Well, Allison talked to Rhonda. Okay, so here's an email from this afternoon from Allison, and you can read it briefly, but she did check with Rhonda to make sure that everybody was on the same page. Acknowledges that they're collecting and the funds, and CNN would not take over the project without direction from the CNN board with the agreement of your committee and the neighborhood association. The board, RCPNA, would decide if the project could continue along with yourselves. If not, CNN would then try to refund to the donors who donated to the fund, or let them know the project is not continuing and the funds will be used for. And what you fill in there is a like type project within a neighborhood association, or go back to RCPNA to be used for community betterment, if you will. So that's that's where it's at. It's not cut and dry that you can just shift over to them.
And that wasn't my intention. So I hope, I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
this is a little of a sideswipe. Am I on Survivor?
No, but you know, one of the
Good chance.
conditions and expectations when you guys came to us, that we create a committee so that you guys would be affiliated officially, and the requirement for a board member would be met. And you have, are considering, you've turned in your resignation, so.
I technically haven't.
Pardon?
I don't think I turned in anything.
Well, I think you emailed Tamara. I saw it. And
I didn't. Tamara and I had a verbal conversation.
It was a verbal conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, slow your
Okay.
roll, man.
So, but we did have some questions that were kind of a business plan type questions. I think when you guys came to us, you really didn't have an idea that subsequently you found out that you needed to raise $100,000. I think it was significantly less than that. Correct?
Well, I mean, I'd like to just say hi to everybody again. It's good to see a lot of you. I want to also say, I know some of you I've met, some of you I haven't, but I think we still there's a lot of conversation around like this project dissolving, and we don't have intentions to stop doing what we're doing. We were moving full steam ahead. We had moved into formed within our committee. We had formed 3 task force to really strategically start the next phase of our project from a fundraising standpoint. And then, and I don't want to use this as an excuse, but coronavirus hit, and that has literally changed the entire world. And I don't want to be dramatic, but it felt very, it felt tone deaf for us to go raise money for a playground when for about 4 to 6 months, people didn't even know if they could go to the grocery store, right? So we put the brakes on out of respect for what's going on. There was caution tape put up around parks in the town, and we were told not to touch equipment. And so we just felt like, you know what, let's call time out for a while. But I don't want this group to, I don't want you to feel like we aren't still committed to the project. We very much are. And 2, like, I don't want you to feel like we don't respect or appreciate what the Rose City Park Neighborhood Association has done to help us. And we're grateful for that. You know, we didn't have to go through the neighborhood association. We wanted to. We felt like that was the best way to be successful, to partner with people, to include people, to make this a neighborhood thing. And we still want to do that. When we
Ben,
asked,
can I address, Ben? I think you guys were looking for a nonprofit affiliation so you could collect money. And
yeah, we didn't want to start a nonprofit. Yeah, it didn't make sense to start a nonprofit when we didn't need to. 100%.
So in fact, you came to us on the basis of what you said, plus you wanted to avail yourself to the nonprofit status that we could offer.
Yeah, 100%.
We all agree this is a worthwhile.
There needed to be a representative of the Rose City Park Neighborhood Association on our committee. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Joe has to be on the neighborhood association's board, right?
Well,
like,
if you recall, we established that you guys were a committee of the association, and the requirement was that a member of your group be on the board, which was the converse of what you're saying. But that was the conversation.
I guess I would just open it up. If Joe's tenure, his time is up, is there anybody else that represented here tonight would maybe step up and be a part of our committee to keep this thing going to keep the link? Like that could be a really easy solution.
So could you guys come up with a business plan? We should have probably done this 2 years ago with some goals and timeframes for your fundraising. And I know that COVID's an issue, but Joe was asked to do that in an email, and I don't think he replied to it. But
Yeah, you
know,
sent that in,
and
didn't you, Joe?
the
I
converse,
replied to their email, but
Hold on, one at a time.
I got the email the day before Thanksgiving. We didn't have time to put a business plan together before Thanksgiving. And if we could step back just a little bit, and Ed, on technicality, you may be correct, but I think in spirit, it's a little, it feels a little like I'm on trial here, which is making me very uncomfortable. We came to you guys because we wanted to be part of the community. And we were trying to reach out to say, hey, we would love to partner with you. We did a roadshow at the CNN as well. We have built bridges to parks. We have built bridges to the Parks Foundation. We have built bridges to management at Ellington when that was an issue in the community, because we were trying to, we had this big discussion this evening about BIPOC communities and what are we gonna do? Ben and I were actually doing that 2 years ago almost, trying to build bridges. My hope and intention was that the Rose City Park Neighborhood Association, and I'm sad to leave the board. After 2 years, it's my time. But my hope was that you guys would still want to hang your banner with us as we continue the work. Our committee of neighborhood volunteers that have put in a lot of sweat equity into this are still interested in keeping this alive. It's just been an extremely difficult year. And I don't know if you remember, but when we kicked off the first quarter of this year, when we kicked off our 100 for 100 campaign, which was $100,000 from 100 families, in the first quarter, I think by January, we had raised $4,000. We were moving ahead. And then the world crashed down on us and we've gone silent for a little bit. It's been very, very difficult. We're not a corporation. We're a group of volunteers. No, we haven't put together a business plan, nor have we been asked to until a couple days ago. And I think there is a feeling from me that my resignation has either rubbed you the wrong way, you personally, Ed, or someone else. I don't know, but it
there's
just
nothing personal, Joe. Joe, you talk about bridges. You've just deconstructed the bridge with the neighborhood association. We asked you if you could, members of your community could step in for you and maybe on a rotating.
You're not able to. I can't force them to do something.
No, I understand, but I think we phrased it as skin in the game back when you guys came to us. That's an expectation.
Not a lot of skin in the game.
Okay, hold on. Let's not get into an argument here.
I'd love not to.
So,
let me just clarify one thing before you speak, Don.
mhm.
I believe Ed pointed out earlier that it is in our bylaws that if we are to have a committee, that we have to have someone from that committee on the board. And I think that is the issue more than anything. And I think we talked about it as skin in the game, but it's actually in the bylaws. So let's talk about that as the primary question of how we can deal with that, because I love what you've been able to do, but I also want some reality of whether or not we should be, supporting something that is looking for $100,000, or whether or not we should look at maybe elements of that entire package and say, okay, we will, support buying this piece of equipment for, let's say, $15,000, and then go from there, and maybe smaller chunks. But
So
that's part of the business plan question. Okay, Don, you wanted to
okay, so just for some clarity for me, when I'm talking to you, Joe and Ben, you're not talking about withdrawing from the project completely. You're just talking about withdrawing from the board for now, because the project in this environment, it's not it's not feasible to do a big push on the project in these times that we're in. Is that kind of correct?
Well, actually, I think this, we're starting to actually feel like with the announcement of some vaccines and things, that there might be some renewed interest and energy that we could invest in the playground project itself. But I think in Joe, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but we all have a limited bandwidth of what we're able to give. And I think he's spent a lot of time with you all dealing with larger neighborhood association related things, and wants to put that time and energy into raising money and helping us build the park. And we haven't had anybody raise their hand to come jump on the neighborhood association in Joe's place. And
Right.
so we're just in this weird place where, like, we're going to continue our project. We're going to continue to raise money. We would like to remain to not have to break down the thing that's been working as far as being a part of the neighborhood association. We don't have a replacement from Joe. And I don't think it's fair to make Joe stay on and be like, if you want a board member, you want a board member who wants to be there and is committed. And Joe's been committed for 2 years. So, like, thank you for your service, Joe, to the neighborhood association. Like, I don't know
Well,
if I told you that, but that's awesome.
I hear that.
Yeah. So if somebody either from this group, or if we need to go recruit somebody, like, if that's what you're telling us, then maybe that's where we need to go. But if anybody wants to step up and say, we don't meet that often as far as a committee, but that could be the liaison just to help report back. And yeah.
So, from my viewpoint, we're all volunteers. We all put in our time, and each of us kind of has our own passion as to why we're on here.
Sure.
And I certainly get that for Joe, when you got on here, the playground project was your passion, and that got you onto the board. And I totally respect that. And now that that's kind of on hold, the rest of the neighborhood association stuff might not be your cup of tea. I also think, though, that when you're talking about the possibility of a vaccine, the possibility of, like, widespread vaccination by spring, that by spring and summer, the environment might change so that this project can kind of put some legs under it. And so I'm wondering, I guess, Tamara and Ed, if there's any mechanism for Joe to go on sabbatical for a while. I mean, we do have, we have in the bylaws, you need to attend these many meetings unless they're excused. If we put Joe on sabbatical until his project, of which he is passionate about, which got him onto the board in the first place, is feasible again, if we could do that for a while, because that doesn't seem like that would trigger anything. The money is safe. It's in the account. It's not being abused. And we could wait for some time to develop and see if that project comes back into a form that Joe would be willing to continue and take it and push that forward through the neighborhood association. And, if in 6 months it's still not feasible, then we could make that decision then. I don't know if there's anybody else on the board that wants to take on that particular project, but it's a decent project, and it's a hard time to have that project move forward right now. But I think in 6 months, it could be a different thing.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Are we just asking for someone to be a liaison? Is that why we have this rule? Like, it's not like the person has to go lead the whole thing, right? You just have to get a report. I could do that. If that solves this problem, I will take.
I was going to put you.
I will present it at the meeting if that's what needs to happen.
Meg, that would be phenomenally. What's some other amazing words I can send your way? But yes, and you could work with me directly to say, hey, I need, could you send me a few notes on where we're at with the committee with the playground project, and I could send you a couple bullet points for every meeting if that's what's required to fit this technicality.
Yeah, and I mean, I would,
You're
to
saying, Tamara,
clarify, if you had a meeting, I would attend the meeting, or I'll be on the listservs or whatever you guys use.
yes,
I just don't want to, like, fundraising is not really my thing.
You don't, yeah,
So-
no, that's not, yeah. I think it's more the
we wouldn't require
liaison,
any of that.
right? Yeah,
Sorry, Ben.
yeah, sorry. I think it's the liaison to make sure that the board is fully informed. They still feel trust that we're not out soliciting money and spending it in other ways. And I still feel really confident. I don't balk at $100,000 at all. Like, I don't think that's that much money. I just think it's a matter of timing. And we had good momentum, and we like the rest of the world got our butt kicked. And but we also, like, we put the brakes on intentionally because it wasn't right to go fundraise right at that moment. And but I think parks are going to be something people need more than ever, because it's going to be a free place, and a lot of people aren't going to have money to go do things after coronavirus lifts. And so, especially in the underserved communities of like the Ellington and things like that. So, and we actually have some people from the Ellington who've reached out in the last month and a half to get involved. They're going to start a committee within the apartment complex, which is something we've been wanting for 2 years, and that's finally coming to fruition, which is really exciting. I know some of you have personally donated and come and supported us, and so I don't want you to feel like, well, this is another pipe dream that never going to happen. Like, it's going to happen. I'm going to stand there and cut a ribbon someday, and I'm not giving up. It's just we had to put some time out for coronavirus. But I do think it's okay to thank Joe for his great service to the board. He's done so much for the neighborhood association. He threw that big event at Normandale Park. You know, he's been a faithful committee member, and
I
so,
totally agree with you
yeah.
on that, Ben.
Yeah,
Yeah, Joe has been amazing board member, and absolutely, I have no negative feelings or thoughts at all. It's mainly just dealing with the technicality of making sure we're linked, and that we can support it as a board going forward. But I think there are questions still about, the idea of how you're gonna keep it going, and can you break it up into chunks so people
Sure.
can actually see something
yeah.
move.
I think that's a great, fair question that we'll bring to our committee when we have our next meeting. And that's something we need to follow up with the Parks Department on. Because originally they said no, but things are so different now. They might want a quick win also. So who knows?
Okay.
Yeah, I think,
I just add, I've been silent, just digesting all this. I support the playground project, and I appreciate Meg stepping up to chair and build that connection. And I think we just got to be very cognizant of the effect of COVID on our community. And I think that Joe's done a really good job kind of spearheading this project through this time. And, Ben's right. We might be at the beginning of a big thaw. And so this is an important time to push forward and not take our foot off the gas, regardless of who serves on the board. So that's all.
I'd just like to say, to be sure, COVID is a major factor. I would still like to see some timeframe goals for fundraising from you guys once COVID hopefully under control. The board, we donated $1,500, and there are a number of other people, and that's your original cost estimate, I think, was well below $100,000 when we started this project. Isn't that correct, Ben?
Yeah, but Ed, I don't know if there's been, and Jennifer, I'd hate to send you back looking through miles of notes, but I've definitely provided updates that those numbers have changed long time ago.
Yeah, they have. So, but
And I've kept the board updated, so it's not that that's a surprise.
so
But
the
it's good to
context
have
is,
but it's good to have plans. And if you're gonna reach $100,000, you got to set a goal to get there. And so I think that we can provide you a realistic path of how we can achieve those goals.
so the point being that people donated money, including the board, with the expectation that there would be a new terrific playground structure there. And I think they probably had in mind a reasonable amount of time. When the total cost went to 100 grand or more, that time frame stretched way out there, and there's money that could be, as Allison said, you know, it could come back to the neighborhood association, be used for another project. Everybody had a different reason for donating, or may have a different reason, like to see it being spent elsewhere. That's why I'd like to see some at the end of COVID, some realistic goals and fundraising and timeframes from you guys. I'm still on board with the project. I think it's really loose and squishy right now.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well,
And I think, I was going to say.
sorry, go ahead, Jim.
I think just, I think business plan might be like something that's like, maybe almost too detailed, but something that just says like, this is the idea, this is who we've asked, this is how much money we have, and it's like in some kind of like report form. I know that like I'm here, I take lots of notes. You know, I know that we get updates. I don't know that if they get turned in like a more formal fashion, or there's like that kind of like reporting, that would be, I think that would give some folks some assurance and like some more comfort. I know that we spoke because I'm pretty old school. You know, I'm from like a legal background. And so like, I like lots of words and data and right. And so like, just, I don't think the business plan needs to be like crazy. It needs to be like,
Yeah.
the goal is 100,000. We've raised 15,000. This is what we're going to buy with it when we get the money. And this is when we hope to do it by, you know, something like that. And not over Thanksgiving, you know, obviously it's not like over Thanksgiving, but I do think it was something that the board asked for like a while ago. And I don't know, maybe it's in there somewhere. I wasn't the secretary when we started this thing. I just got sucked into it. So that might just be something that can be considered, and then that Meg can, you know, maybe build on as we can.
Well, it just gives us a chance when we have our next committee meeting to remind people of what we've talked about and to shape it. And so all these things are helpful. I mean, and I apologize, like, I know Joe's been on all these meetings and informing you, but still like having not sent out like a formal communication in a while, or like just people probably thought we just dissolved and went away with COVID, and so, you know, communication's key. And
Yeah,
you know, yeah.
To add to that, we really didn't set up a place for your minutes and stuff like that on our website. So it would be nice to go ahead and do that. And also, if you have, you know, drawings and stuff like that, let's put that up on the website so people can find it that have donated. So people understand, and maybe even, you know, a little blurb on the website saying playground project, you can find your information here. So
yeah, great.
We want to show that we're connected, that you've done some work, and what you know, where you are in the goals.
So point of order here, Tamara, we're well behind schedule.
Yes.
We might need to skip over some stuff as we're supposed to be out of here in 15 minutes. So perhaps this extra conversation can be tabled for later.
Well, it's quickly then, as far as tabling for later. My concern coming into this, I wasn't sure whether Joe and Ben were pulling the plug on the project or just pulling the plug on representation on the board, but it sounds like they're still moving forward in the project. I understand how difficult it is to fundraise for a park when all the playground equipment is closed with caution tape around it for the last 8 months.
We've got to shut down this conversation, Don.
Hmm?
We've got
What I'm saying is I've always felt that they've been really transparent. If they're still moving ahead with the project and Meg has volunteered to act as liaison to the board, so the board still has connection into this, I have no problem in letting that process move forward.
Thank you, Don.
okay. So that's a motion. Do we have a second for that motion?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of the playground moving forward with Meg representing the board? Say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay. And Joe, I'm going to talk to you off screen sometime soon, okay? All right. So we are down to, we've got 15 minutes. We heard some from the communications. We don't have a whole lot with land use. We have the events committee, safety, and then adjourn. So Ed, is there anything major on communications that we haven't covered?
No, it's just Linda introduced herself and she seems to have it well in hand. Just if we could get those who need to get content to her would do it as quickly as possible, that would be great.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And
Camera, just real quick, I think we might have skipped over the overhead continuous descent thing. Did that not happen, or are we
Someone,
tabling it for later?
last board meeting, Joe consented to putting together a Survey Monkey survey, but since he's resigned, or he's expressed via emails and a conversation that, so if somebody wants to do the survey, that,
Okay,
press that.
good. So
The point for Zoe was that a gentleman from Collie lives by the airport's been endeavoring to get the fighter jets to cease flying over the residential neighborhoods. Came and did a presentation a year ago. It was a year ago, April. Well, it was quite a while, maybe February, January, and requested a letter of support. And we wanted to survey all of the neighbors rather than assume that we could speak for them as a board. So we're waiting to accomplish that survey. That's it. Makes sense?
so I think we can postpone this
Yeah.
another meeting unless
Sure.
there's someone that wants to jump up and do the survey. Meg? Zoe, do you like to do surveys?
So I would just create a survey and send it to an email list we have, I'm assuming.
Pretty much.
Now,
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we'll talk to you offline about it, Zoe.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So next meeting. Land use committee, we don't have much of anything because we haven't met. Right, Kelly?
The only thing I was going to talk about was the Hollywood Hub project, which we have a representative, Libby Winter from TriMet, who is going to present to the Land Use and Transportation Committee on the 17th of December. She wanted to present at the board meeting, and Ed said, "Oh, we have a pretty full agenda." She could also be a backup for the general meeting if we were desperate and needed some entertainment. She could present something about the Hollywood Hub, which is at the Hollywood Transit Center. It's a development of apartments and impacts to the multimodal system in Hollywood, but it's pretty close to us.
Very close. Good. Okay, events. Oh, yes.
One second. Kelly, you had on in the last month's minutes that you were going to write a letter to request inclusion for the notices. Did you do that?
I wrote to the TriMet representative that was referred to me by Joe Schaefer from the Hollywood
Mhm.
Neighborhood Association. And so that got me to Roberto Gutierrez, who was the
Okay.
representative from TriMet. He passed it to Libby Winter.
Okay.
So
So that's how we got here.
that's how we got there. So she's the one that's going to present. And I still continue to hear from Roberto to make sure that our needs are being met.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Okay, we are down to 9 minutes and we've got events and safety.
I'm going to bid farewell, guys. I really appreciate you all. I wish I'd had a moment to say what I wanted to say earlier, but went right into the Ed's stuff. But I really appreciated working with you guys. I know some of you and I will stay in touch. So thanks a lot. Have a good night.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Nice to meet you.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks for your
Thank
work,
you.
Joe.
Thank you for all your work. Okay. All right,
So the events, we have commitments. Joe Schaefer from Hollywood got commitments from LaRonda Steele and Norma Sylvester for the 2 dates in July. And the parks permit application has been submitted. The normal process sent back. We have to get a sign off from the police bureau and the noise review board, and those requests have gone in. So we're way ahead of the game. We just need COVID to go away and provide us the opportunity to put concerts on. That's it.
okay. Safety.
I have nothing new to report.
So any feedback from the residents or the businesses after the tagging on Sandy Boulevard?
There's no feedback that came to me.
Okay.
So what should the neighborhood association be doing in response to such a event happening within our neighborhood? Is there something we should be talking about, or was that the earlier discussion tonight?
Don?
Well, our options, they have, as a result of the 15 million reduction in funding to the police bureau, they have pulled the neighborhood response teams right now. So one would think that the neighborhood response teams would be the liaison with the police department. That didn't happen. I think, again, I'm not sure whether that group that went through was really affiliated officially with any other group. It seemed like they had mixed messages depending on who had the paint can. So, as far as the neighborhood association, what we can do to support our businesses, I'm open to suggestion.
I don't know. It would be a topic with the guest speakers that we have, from the council. And depending on who has the police bureau, maybe that will change. And we'll have a shakeup.
Well, I can speak a little bit because I'm on the newly formed Police Bureau Advisory Committee, that their budget is in poor shape, that they are significantly over budget, and they've been reduced, and they're being told because of loss of revenue from the city to reduce it even more the next year. So they don't have a lot of capacity to do a lot more than they're doing now. I think that there can be a change of focus on, again, communication is a big part, and they've kind of eliminated they have pulled the transit police, they pulled the neighborhood response teams, they pulled the behavioral response teams that they were starting, and they pulled the school liaison officers. So because of budget reduction. So they pretty much pulled the opportunity for casual communication with the community. And the only thing they have left pretty much is patrol officers. And they're, they have, their mission is different from gradual de-escalation and talking to the community when they're intervening in a situation where there might be danger to people or property. So it's kind of stuck right now. I think the new commissioners coming in might have some opportunities to change things. Their budget is going through review right now. So part of what my committee is doing is providing community input into budget recommendations for ways that they should utilize that budget, what they have.
Well, one thing that I'd like to ask of each of you is to check in with the businesses and the neighbors that were impacted, and over the next month, and just say, is there anything we can do to help? Because I'm not sure what we can do, but I think, again, reaching out and providing some building a relationship with those people that were impacted in the hazing that went on would be good. Does that make sense, Jay? Jeff? Folks? Yes?
Yeah, I think definitely like showing up for the community and letting them know that this happened and that we're here to help them is essential. I mean, in some cases, I guess, like, I don't know if this would be possible, but like if somebody's wall was tagged or spray painted over, like helping them get paint to repaint it and like going out and helping them repaint it or something. I mean, with COVID, it's very difficult to do that, but just like showing up for our community members and being like, I will be there and do the work with you to recover from something that impacted you.
Okay. Jeff?
I don't have anything further to add.
Okay. All right, we've got 2 minutes left.
Did you
Anything
have
else?
how do we know what businesses were affected by that?
Well, there was a list, 27 businesses or something in the media that listed all of them.
Oh,
Wow.
I'll read that.
Pretty much from Killer Burger down 47th in, from what I saw the next day.
Mm.
Both sides of the street.
Mm.
I saw that most of it also was on like boards, like if businesses had boarded up their windows, that's where people had tagged rather than like on the walls themselves. But that's just from what I was looking at.
Yeah, but I think a lot of those boards were up to cover the broken glass that happened that night. And then also we've had another fire at Rios.
Oh,
Yeah. It was another targeted attack.
Was
Yeah.
that arson?
I don't know. I just saw that there was a fire and they are closed again.
Heard it was arson.
Was it?
Yes.
Okay, well, on that note.
Yeah.
Don't move.
Yeah. That was a motion to adjourn?
Question,
Yes.
Cameron, if I can get in really quick, everyone, I'm going to send you an email that I thought I sent earlier today, but I must have used the wrong boards list. We need to get your conflict of interest forms in, and so far I only have Kelly, Joe, and Ed, so I really only have Kelly and Ed.
Well,
So,
I know I did mine and sent them to somebody.
well, I didn't get them, so maybe
You need
Joe
it.
did.
Okay.
And Zoe
I'm-
needs to get a copy.
Yes.
I'm
I
the
don't
only
have
CNN
to.
rep now, so if you could send it to me in response to this email, it'd be great.
Okay.
Can we e-sign?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Zoe, I'm going to reach out to you. There's a bunch of collecting information, exchanging information to get you that form. We'll do this
Okay.
online. I'll email you and we can do a phone call or something and do all of that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay,
Sorry about my loud teenagers.
it's fine. Okay,
make
so
cuckoo clocks.
we got a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second? All
Jennifer,
those in
second?
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Just one, good of the order. Welcome to the board, Zoe.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Coming, Zoe.
A
Okay.
different
Good night,
perspective
everyone.
and a younger one.
Goodbye, everybody.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.